Good morning, everyone. This is Ben Dunn, founder of Antarctic Press, a comic book publishing company established in 1985. Creator of such comics as the Marvel Mangaverse, Ninja High School, Warrior Nun, Tomorrow Girl, Penguina, and a host of other comic book characters. So, I read on Facebook recently. Yes, I still have Facebook. What can I say? I'm a boomer. Uh, some of you young people out there may not think Facebook is cool, but I tell you what, we boomers like to use things that are useful and have value. And so far, I've been pretty satisfied with it. But anyway, I digress. Uh, Recently, and this is what basically this poster said, is that see, this is what he says. He says, I'm curious about your opinions on current prices for sketches in this hobby. Now, I'm not a high roller who goes and drops $8,000 at a con to get full body sketches from Mark Silvestri, David Finch, and more. Wow, $8,000. That's a lot. I've typically tried to get small remarks in the $20 to $100 range. I've gotten some good stuff over the past 5 years, but I was discouraged after attending Fan Expo Dallas a couple of weekends ago. Oh, that was the same weekend as my open house. Before going, I researched many of the artists' rates so that I could budget for the trip as usual. I wasn't aware that artists posted their rates, but there you go. But when I got there, everyone was charging nearly twice as much as I was expecting. Even no-name independent artists were starting at $175 for remarks or headshots. Seemed very steep to me. Any thoughts? Well, Mr. Williams, he's the poster. Here's some things about comic book creators, comic book artists that you probably did not know, may not know, or may not want to know. Because, we, not speaking for everyone, of course, everyone's different. Comic artists, we're like snowflakes. We're all different. And this can vary from artist to artist. So I'm going to give you a caveat that I'm only speaking for myself and what I've experienced the last 50 some odd years I've been in the biz, as they say. Okay, let's start with who we are. Okay. For the most part, comic book artists are like any other profession. We should be calling ourselves professionals and not just artists. Because if you're an artist, an artist simply wants to create. He has the talent. He wants to create something unique, original. Wants to say something, about the world, about around him, who he is, and wants to share that through some sort of medium, whether it's written or visual. I don't know if, writers qualify for the label artist, but I guess they do. They can, as long as they're creating something unique. But the written word's a little different than creating something that's visual that people could immediately look at and say, hey, I know what that is. Or maybe, hey, I don't know what that guy's trying to do or trying to say, but there it is. What we really are professionals if you're getting paid to use your skills. And that's really what it comes down to, is that like any other profession, if your skill level is at a level that people will want to pay you, we want to pay them to create something new, unique, and original, then that artist can pretty much charge whatever he wants. In this free market society, which, it is a free market society, artists can charge whatever they feel the market will bear. I'll let you in on a little secret. Most artists don't want to be at cons. It's true. We usually go because, one, the potential of a large, supplement to our income is there, and most of it is cash. It's changing now. Now it's becoming more and more. People are using debit cards, credit cards, Bitcoin, you know, what have you. I've never been paid in Bitcoin. It might be an interesting experience. I wouldn't know how to go about doing it, But truth be told, a lot of it goes unreported. We make a lot of money at conventions. At least some of us do. Depending on our level of popularity and the demand level. So we love cash if you can, afford to pay us, what we want, what you want, you I mean, I shouldn't be telling you this, but it's an undeniable fact, So beyond that, we would most of us would rather be at home drawing, creating, relaxing in our slippers, our favorite bathrobe, having the TV on in the background or our radio or the whatever is playing music to what we're doing and just relaxing, and wanting to create the next thing, for ourselves to share with everybody else, or to do real paying jobs. You know, I'm not going to say this is the same for every artist because it's not. Some artists truly like to go to cons, and some of them rely on them. Some of them are very, very dependent on going to conventions. They buy tables. But if they're invited as a guest, they're usually there at the expense of the convention, and usually most of their expenses are paid, and most of their it's pretty much a free vacation. Sort of like a work vacation, if you really want the truth, because you're expected to attend panels, sell your books, do commissions, sign things like that. Now, depending on the convention or the show that the artist is going to, they allow the artist to charge whatever they want for signatures, sketches, commissions, things like that, and they don't get a cut of it. They don't get a cut of the whatever the artists make. That's just part of the course of having that particular guest there, because the convention is betting that the popularity of that particular artist will attract customers to their convention. That's part and course of the way conventions are run these days. And that's why a lot of popular artists demand demand a lot of benefits for them to attend, especially if they're very popular, or in demand, so to speak. When you get to a level such as myself, we are not as much in demand. We are pretty much lower, second tier, third tier, artist guests, for the most part. My demands are usually pretty simple. If you want me to attend, you just have to cover my travel expenses, my stay, and a table, and allow me to sell my stuff. I don't require a appearance fee. Some artists do. Some artists demand a appearance fee. And then that's just what they are. They can demand anything they want if you want them to appear. It's up to the convention organizers to meet whatever that artist demands, to appear at their convention. I mean, if they are really successful, they appear, just to say hello to their fans. It's sort of a thank you, for making them so popular. But artists, especially comic book artists, I've noticed, are pretty vain. I hate to admit that my profession is filled with people who think that somehow their talent gives them sort of a superiority complex over the general public, but I've seen it often enough to make an assessment that this is probably wildly true. They feel like somehow when they get to a certain level of popularity, they no longer need to mingle with the unwashed masses. Now I'm not going to say this for every artist. No, it's not the same. But some of them get to a level where they feel like they don't have to really be there, other than just the potential of making large amounts of money. That's the only reason that they're there to begin with. They're not there really, you know, to thank their fans, their readers, and things like that. They're there to make an appearance because people want to meet them. They want to, press the flesh, as they say, talk to them, get a chance to know them in some fashion, brag to their friends that, hey, I met such an artist, and I got this, So among fandom, that gives you sort of a certain air of, certain air of jealousy, certain air of envy that you got to meet this artist who's like super hot, did all these characters, created all these things, and it's may not be in every case, but it's true for the most part. I think that when you have a super popular artist who just have lines around the block, then why wouldn't that artist take advantage of that? It's just par in the course of that's what they're there for. They're a professional and they're there to make money. Now, this only really happens when you get to that upper tier. Now, for people who are just starting out, people who are not as well known, people who are trying to build a name for themselves, it's a little bit more difficult. But according to this poster, even indie creators, lower level talent, they think that if they're at a high level convention, that they're justified in charging what he perceives as unreasonable, even outrageous prices. There used to be a time, and I hate to hearken back to the old days, but things were a lot simpler back then. Things were a lot more, we were much more a tight-knit community back then. Everyone pretty much knew each other. Things were not at the level where it became corporate, it became sort of like, I loathe to use the word taking advantage of, but you could go to a comic book art. I went to Jack Kirby once at a Houston show way back in the 70s, and he had a line, but he gave his signature for free, to every single person who lined up to ask for one. He didn't charge for a signature, He was happy. He sold original artwork, and people were buying them. People were talking to him. He was very friendly, but he was what you would call a curmudgeon, but, he had that reputation. People knew that, And in a lot of artists, it was just a given that you would sign comics for free because this was a thank you to the readers out there, for supporting their work. It was just sort of a given. I don't know when things started to change. I think, with Stan Lee, I don't know when people started to charge for signatures. I don't know when the exact point. I mean, I know it happens with celebrities and writers sometimes because they can't draw, and they have to make some other way to make money at these conventions. Artists can draw. You can do commissions now. I myself, and this is just me personally, will never ever, till the day I die, will ever charge for a signature. If someone came up with a stack of 1,000 books, I would just tell the guy, well, be ready to spend some time with me because I would sign every single one of those books. Not because, not because that I would make some money off it. I could, if I charged for a signature, but because I myself don't believe that's right. You know, myself personally. I think that if someone, took the time to want to see me, want to meet me, bought my book, came up to me and wanted my signature, I'd be glad to do that. But then someone would say, hey, Ben, you know, that's like giving money away. A lot of those guys just want to get books signed so they can flip them, and charge other people for your signature. And I said, I think to myself, so, I don't care. Once I sign a book, I never question the motive of that particular, reader or fan or the person who brought that book up. You know, what would happen if every single time someone came up to me and say, who's wanted a book signed, I'd say, are you going to flip this book? How awkward would that be? You know, once I decide that I'm going to sign a book for somebody, that's it. No questions asked. I sign it. Be on your way. Maybe have a conversation. Usually, I can tell if someone is going to flip a book when they bring stacks and stacks of comics to me. Sometimes, it is a fan, a reader who's been collecting for years and years and years and wants to get all his. I can usually tell because when the books they give me are dog-eared, spine ticks, are well read. I knew this guy read all my comics and he enjoyed them. He just wants a signature on them. So he has a memory of meeting the guy who created, his favorite comic. That's really, that's really the end of it, to be honest. Now, as far as commission prices are concerned, like I said before, it's a free market. An artist can charge whatever he feels like he can get away with. That's true for the most part. Some artists have some rules. I know several artists who will not draw anything other than the creation, of their characters. They'll make very few exceptions, and if they do, they'll usually charge way more than their standard average. And it's up to them to decide how much they want to charge. Some artists spend a lot of time doing commissions and they want to do the best work they possibly can. But usually in a convention setting, you're not in a studio setting. Now, studio setting allows you to take your time, to work on a piece, and you can charge more because you're going to spend more time on a particular piece because you have more time, and you can, get more complex, more detailed, and just do the pace when it's fun. Now, at a convention, usually you have 2-3 days, maybe even 1 day. So in order to get the maximum amount of commissions based on their ability to create, and also their demand and popularity means that they could charge whatever they feel like is fair to that particular artist. Now, there have been instances, and I know this because I've heard from other people, that a lot of people will take advantage of artists by commissioning something and then flipping that art for vast sums of money. Now, once a piece of artwork leaves my hands, if someone commissions me to do something, I lay no more claim to that artwork. I imply that, once you get something from me, it's yours. You own it. You can do whatever you want with it. Put it on a t-shirt, reproduce it till the cows come home. I don't care. It's one of those things that I myself feel like, once you paid for this, it's yours. You've hired me to do a job, and that should be the end of it. Now, there have been some talk that, and I did a video recently about reproductions of commission pieces that someone may get an artist to do. Now, as I said before, that can vary from artist to artist depending on who the artist is, and depending on what his policy is. If an artist is truly concerned about that, he'll say, are you going to reproduce this piece? Or is this for something like for a cover or something else like that? Are you going to do it as a poster or t-shirt? In which case he may either refuse to do it if they don't have something in writing, or very specifically state, because an oral contract is just maybe not as valid, and I will make a caveat. I'm not a lawyer, okay, but my understanding is that an oral contract is just as valid as a written one. You know, not as rock solid as a written one, but definitely a contract if you agree to it. You know, but like I said, I myself, once it leaves my hands, it belongs to you. I don't care. You know, you've hired me to give you to do a commission piece, and I'll do it, and that's the end of it. You know, now there are, and so you have to decide whether it's worth it to pay the artist's asking price for a particular commission, you know, or the asking price for a signature or headshot or a remark. You know, and as I said before, I don't do that. You know, I don't charge for headshots in a book. I don't charge because in a book that means you bought the book. You know, and this is my way of thanking you. You know, and it's a case by case basis. If I feel like doing a headshot, I can do it. You know, and if I don't, I just don't. You know, like I said, I would never charge for a signature. Never, never, ever, ever, ever. This is my promise to you, my fans and readers, that you ever bring up a book that I did and you want a signature, you know, you don't have to ask if I charge. I mean, you can. It's a nice courtesy, you know, but know that I would never, ever do that. Now, that's just me. You know, I'm not saying that every artist will do that. So be wary or expect that some artists will charge for signatures. That's fine. It's totally up to them. It's a free market, as I said before. You can charge whatever you want for whatever you want. You know. So, in conclusion, you know, as the convention season starts to heat up, you know, be aware that things have changed. You know, artists are professionals, you know, and just like any other profession, they expect to be paid for the services rendered. You know, the artist is at his liberty to charge whatever he wants, you know, however he wants, how much he wants. So just be prepared. Now, some artists do menu pricing. They will clearly state right up front what they charge for a particular type of piece of artwork. In which case, then you know exactly what to expect. Some artists don't do that. They wait for what you want, you know, and they'll tell you, well, I'm going to charge you this much for that, you know. And the thing about it is that a lot of times, you know, unless you're prepared, it can be an awkward situation, you know, where someone asks an artist, hey, how much do you charge for a commission? And if he says, you know, $1,000 for a headshot, $2,000 for a body shot, you know, or whatever, you know, and that may be a little bit more than that customer was expecting, you know, because, you know, most of the time people don't know how much effort goes into a particular piece of artwork. Some artists spend hours and hours and hours on a particular piece because they're meticulous, they're detailed oriented, they want to produce the best piece possible, and it's well worth every penny, you know, that that the customer spends on it. Some artists will do a quickie headshot and charge an outrageous amount because they can get away with it. You know, just the mere fact that you got a piece is, you know, is just good enough. Now, you know, like I went to a convention once many years ago where Neil Adams was set up, and I've always wanted a Neil Adams piece. You know, that's one of my favorite. He was one of my favorite artists, and he was selling his omnibus book, you know, for something like $200. You know, and you know, and I asked him if he'd be willing to do a quick sketch, and that if I bought the book. Now he didn't have to say yes, but he did. He drew me a little Batgirl piece inside the book because I bought a $200 book. You know, and he didn't charge me for it. He just did it out of the goodness of his heart. Now he didn't have to. He could have charged me $50, $100, $200, whatever he wanted. I probably would have paid it, you know, because I wanted a Neil Adams piece. But he was nice enough to do it, and I was very appreciative. then made me admire him even more. It made me really respect him as an artist even more. And plus I got a nice $200 omnibus. So I got something really good. So it just all depends on how much you think it's worth. And as far as this particular poster is concerned, yeah, things are outrageous. Look, the economy is not doing great right now. You know, Artists are looking to generate income any way they can. If they think they can get away with charging for remarks or for head sketches or signatures, they're going to do it. They're going to try to get away with it because people are willing to pay it. But I've learned sooner or later, if unless you can maintain your level of popularity, your level of level of skill, then eventually things come back, and the artist is no longer in demand. It just depends. So, in conclusion, you have to expect a large, a large varied, what you would call, lots of words, a large range of prices when it comes to getting a commission piece or a signature or a remark or whatever you expect that artist, and be prepared to pay for it. It would be nice to know ahead of time exactly how much, because people need to budget. Unless you're a person with FU money, or have a large, and you saved for a particular artist just so you can get a piece from them, then be prepared. That's all I can say. But in the end, if you really want the truth, none of us need it to survive. The reason I go to conventions is because I genuinely love going to conventions and meeting people. It's a hassle, I will tell you. It is to prepare for a convention. You gotta, get your stuff together. You gotta travel. You gotta set up. You're in a hotel for 2-3 days. You've got to meet a bunch of people. If you guys sit there maybe for hours. Not a single individual coming up to your table or buying anything. Yeah, I've had conventions like that. I know what it's like. So especially for you younger amateur starting off artists who are just trying to make a name for himself, it's very, very fortunate if you can do well at these conventions. That shows that you are starting to become well known and popular. You're creating something that people are becoming aware of. But for a vast majority of artists, I will tell you, just based on experience, that you're going to sometimes end up sitting there for hours with no sales, and it can be discouraging. But I say stick to it. Don't give up. You keep at it. If you really are passionate about your profession, you will eventually be discovered, and people will admire your work. Because you are, unique. Your vision is unique. You just have to convince enough people to share that vision and pay you money. That's really what it comes down to. Cause that's the end result. Because we as comic book artists exist for only one reason, and that is to make money. And how do we make money? We make money by producing something people want. And if people want it, they will pay us. They will pay us money for us to continue producing what we produce because they enjoy it. It gives them some sort of good feeling to be able to look at an artist's creation, sit down, absorb it, and really make them feel good about it. And that's really what it comes down to. And what can I say other than that? It's just one of those things. That's the reality of life. It all comes down to the how much you can make. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that yes, you know, the reality is that you can expect to pay more and more for things that used to be free. And I wouldn't be surprised someday that people will charge for water at restaurants in the near future. Because any way they can nickel and dime you to death, they will. The same was true with the government. Same was true with private sector. Same was true in comic books. But as for me, I appreciate all my readers and all my backers, all my supporters out there. And and I really, really want to thank everyone by doing something for them. When they ever come to meet me. I like to talk to them, have conversations with them. Get to know them. You know, see what it is about my work that they attracted to them, and see what they really, what it is about it that resonated with them. So anyway, I do have a campaign going. This is my shill of the day. I know it's a can be an annoyance, but this is one of the things that I have to do in order to maintain my level of income is to do these Kickstarters. And my latest one is the Crimson Nun, which is a really cool throwback to the pulpy adventures of yesteryear, featuring the return of Crimson Nun, a character I created for the Warrior Nun universe. And it's written by Ron Fortier, the writer of eminence, who's written books, comics such as The Terminator, Green Hornet, and The Incredible Hulk, and written by Jesse Thomas. It's now on Kickstarter. Check it out. I hope you'll be back. Until next time, this has been done. Signing off.